Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Renegade Immortal episode number 357 based on novel. So let's start. Wang Lin frowned and was about to speak. What, is fellow cultivator not satisfied? Master Ashenpine's expression shrank as he looked at Wang Lin. Wang Lin remained silent. Since fellow cultivator Lu agrees, then I'll leave it to fellow cultivator Pang. After Master Ashenpine finished speaking, he looked at the old woman in green and the two left the cave. They charged straight for the wall-like mountain range in the distance. However, before leaving, the old woman in green glanced at Wang Lin. Similarly, Master Ashenpine looked at the old man named Pang. After the two of them left, the old man named Pang revealed a gloomy smile and stared at Wang Lin. He turned the ring on his finger and slowly said, "Fellow cultivator Lu, continue to cultivate. This old man will guard you well." After he finished speaking, he presumptuously scanned Wang Lin with his divine sense. After confirming that Wang Lin's injuries were real, he didn't even look at Wang Lin and began raiding the cave. Wang Lin closed his eyes and ignored the old man. Time slowly passed. When the old man searched the 3 stone rooms, he revealed a look of ecstasy. After returning, he coldly stared at Wang Lin and suddenly laughed. "Fellow cultivator Lu, this old man remembers you once said something." Wang Lin opened his eyes. His gaze was calm as he looked at the old man named Pang. Seeing Wang Lin's calm eyes, the old man's eyes narrowed but quickly returned to normal. He said with an eerie tone, "You once told me that I should speak carefully. If I speak carelessly, it might invite a calamity." Wang Lin's expression was calm as he slowly said, "I did indeed say that, and I'll say it now as well. If you speak carelessly, it might invite a calamity." The old man began to laugh like crazy, and the scars on his face looked extremely ferocious. He looked at Wang Lin with a cold gaze and said, "If you weren't injured, I might have been a bit afraid of you. However, now I want to see which one of us has invited a calamity." He looked at Wang Lin and slammed his right hand down on him. The reason he had waited until now to attack was to allow Master Ashenpine and the old woman in green to gain some distance. He feared that she might notice. Wang Lin's eyes were still as calm as water. The moment the old man's right hand closed in, there was a flash of coldness in Wang Lin's eyes. His left hand moved like lightning and grabbed the old man's right hand, then he mercilessly squeezed. A crackling sound echoed, and the old man's pupils shrank. Pain came from his hand, but it was insignificant compared to the terror in his heart. "You?" The old man named Pang immediately retreated and was about to use a spell. However, at this moment, Wang Lin rushed out and his right hand forced a fist. A powerful force whistled forward. The old man was too close to Wang Lin and thus was unable to dodge at all. Wang Lin's fist landed on the old man's chest with a bang. The old man coughed out blood and his eyes became filled with disbelief. His body exploded into a pile of flesh and blood and his origin soul escaped screaming. He was filled with fear, he was afraid. He would have never expected the person before him to not be injured. He was about to escape when Wang Lin lifted his right hand and an iron sword appeared. He slashed down without any hesitation. There was a flash of sword energy, then the old man's origin soul was cut in half and he let out a scream. Wang Lin waved his hand and grabbed the old man's origin soul. His hand crushed half of the origin soul, and before the origin energy could dissipate, Wang Lin inhaled it. The other half of the origin soul was almost transparent, but it didn't dare to escape. It turned in Wang Lin's hand with the iron sword pointed at it. All of this happened in an instant. Wang Lin had made the killing strike without wasting any time at all. The old man wasn't prepared, making his spells and magic treasure useless. Wang Lin's eyes were cold as he gloomily said, "Open your storage space and I won't kill you." The old man's origin soul was very weak, and he already felt like he was dissipating. Wang Lin looked incredibly powerful right now. He couldn't tell if what Wang Lin had said was the truth or a lie. If it was a lie, he'd die, but if it was true, he still had a chance to live. He clenched his teeth and opened his storage space. Wang Lin waved his iron sword and cut off the connection between the old man and the storage space. Then he took everything inside the storage space. Then he coldly looked at the old man's origin soul, and killing intent flashed in his eyes. The old man named Pang's origin soul immediately screamed, "You promised to not kill me." Wang Lin let out a cold snort as his right hand grabbed the origin soul and forcibly searched the old man's memories while he was weakened. A moment later, he put the origin soul that was close to death inside his storage space. He really didn't decide to kill this old man. If this old man's death raised Master Ashenpine's guard, then it wouldn't be worth it, as it would destroy Wang Lin's plan. This person has a very close relationship with Master Ashenpine, so Master Ashenpine might have his life token. Once he dies, Master Ashenpine might immediately know. Wang Lin wasn't sure, and he hadn't seen it in the old man's memory. But he'd always rather tread with caution. After calculating for a bit, Wang Lin leisurely opened his storage space and searched the old man's stuff. The old man was a Nirvana Shatterer cultivator, so he had a lot of treasures. There were hundreds of thousands of celestial jades, and there were even 50,000 to 60,000 origin crystals. Aside from these, there were large amounts of herb and pill recipes. This old man was fully prepared for this trip. These were all secondary. Wang Lin mainly searched the jades. Among the jades, he found 2 maps and a chant to leave this place. The 2 maps were related to the 7-colored realm. Some routes were marked, including places where you could feed fog beasts celestial jades to get origin crystals. It was very detailed. Unfortunately, Wang Lin was unable to find Master Ashenpine's true goal in the old man's memories. Even the old man only knew that there were a lot of beast souls sealed there. Aside from that, Wang Lin learned other things about the 7-colored realm. After pondering for a bit, Wang Lin continued to inspect everything, including the things the old man had gotten from this cave for Wang Lin. There were a lot of pills, and what caught Wang Lin's attention was a short sword. This short sword was stabbed into a beast skeleton in the 3rd stone chamber. He waved his right hand, and with a flash of silver light, the short sword appeared. The old man had just obtained it and hadn't even gotten the chance to examine it before returning it to Wang Lin. When his divine sense swept past the short sword, he noticed an unusual aura from it. He felt like it was familiar, but couldn't remember what it was. However, there was a seal on the sword. If it wasn't open, it would be impossible to know its exact strength. After pondering a bit, Wang Lin arrived at the 3rd room and saw the beast skeleton on the ground. This beast wasn't very large, only about the size of a person, and it was shaped like a deer. Its bones were completely black, and many of them had turned to dust. After taking a closer look, the dust had appeared recently. It was obvious that the old man done this when taking the sword. Looking at the beast bone, Wang Lin gradually frowned. He felt like something was wrong. Why was there a deer in such a cave? Also, it was easy to see that this short sword was not ordinary even though it was still sealed. Once the seal was open, its power would be unimaginable. Yet such a treasure was stabbed into this deer and left here. Since this place isn't Sima Mo's cave, then whose cave is it? Wang Lin had searched the old man's memories and found that this wasn't Sima Mo's cave. Master Ashenpine had never intended to take him to the real cave. This was just a cave Master Ashenpine had randomly found. Sima Mo did indeed have a cave in this land, but it was not here. Wang Lin now knew its real location. Looking at the beast skeleton on the ground, Wang Lin pondered for a long time before walking out of the room. He had no clues and wasn't able to analyze more. He put away the short sword and was about to leave. Then Wang Lin's footsteps suddenly stopped as if he had thought of something. He looked down at the ground. In the corner, there was a ring inside the pile of flesh and blood. Wang Lin remembered that this ring was the old man's beast treasure. It was something he had obtained from the 7-colored realm, but Wang Lin had instantly killed him before he could use it. Wang Lin's right hand reached out and the ring flew into his hand. After wiping off the blood, Wang Lin scanned it with his divine sense, and his expression changed slightly. There was a seal with a total of 9 layers on this ring. The old man named Pang had opened 7 layers and gained partial control of the ring. He had also broken more than half of the 8th layer. Wang Lin erased the imprint on it and placed his own, then he carefully looked at it. With his knowledge of restrictions, it would not be difficult to break the rest of the seal. His left hand formed a seal and sent out a restriction. The instant it fell on the ring, popping sounds echoed as the mostly broken eighth layer shattered. The ring unexpectedly gave off a 5-colored glow, and 5 rays of light circled Wang Lin. These 5 rays of light formed a very strong shield. As they circled Wang Lin, they could prevent all spells from getting close. If the old man named Pang had opened the 8th seal, I wouldn't have killed him so fast. With a thought, the 5 rays of light went back into the ring and Wang Lin put it away. He took a deep breath and looked outside the cave. A cold light flashed in his eyes. He shot out of the cave and chased after them. As he moved, he didn't spread out his divine sense, he only kept it wrapped around his body. He navigated through the valley with a strange connection he was feeling. If Master Ashenpine saw Wang Lin's path, he would be shocked. This route was exactly the same one he had taken with the old woman in green. How can I, Wang Lin, let you wear my scattered devil armor for nothing? This place was covered in grass and there was no fog, so he could clearly see into the distance. Wang Lin was rushing his way through the valley. Sometimes he would stop and close his eyes for a moment as if he was sensing where the path was. A moment later, he would open his eyes and rush forward again. The wall-like mountain range was in the distance, and as time passed, Wang Lin gradually closed in. After about a day, Wang Lin stopped outside a valley. This was already very close to the mountain range. He only needed to travel through the valley to arrive at the foot of the mountain range. Looking at the valley ahead, Wang Lin began to ponder. This valley was strange. After carefully observing for a bit, Wang Lin's eyes lit up. His right hand formed a restriction and he pointed to the spot between his eyebrows. A black line flew out from between his eyebrows. It twisted into a restriction mark as it flew forward. The restriction floated in the air, giving off a black glow that surrounded the area. As the black light shrouded the area, silver light came from the grass before him, revealing a strange pattern. It was the pattern of a plum flower. The moment Wang Lin saw this, his eyes narrowed. The 18 plum flower restriction. This 18 plum flower restriction hadn't been here for a long time, it was only placed here 1 day ago. Apparently, the old woman in green had placed it here. The 18 plum flower restriction was derived from one of the 4 great ancient restrictions, the annihilation restriction. If Wang Lin hadn't gone to All Heaven, he wouldn't have been able to break this restriction. However, when he was All Heaven, Wang Lin gained the inheritance of one of the 4 great ancient restrictions, the annihilation restriction. This 18 plum flower restriction was derived from the annihilation restriction, so it wasn't difficult for Wang Lin to break. The old woman in green left this restriction here. Presumably it is for an ambush and a warning. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he was about to move forward when he suddenly stopped. He carefully looked at the 18 plum flower restriction on the ground. He had a vague feeling that things weren't this simple. Wang Lin spread out his divine sense and carefully scanned the grass inch by inch. His expression gradually grew serious, especially when he saw the black light not so far from the 18 plum flower restriction. He immediately thought about the black gas the old woman had used to absorb the dragon's vitality and to enter the 9-step heaven ceiling formation. When he saw the old woman's restriction, he felt it was strange, but it was inconvenient to observe too closely, so he couldn't see through it. However, with the restriction before him, he thought for a bit and gained enlightenment. To form vitality from endless death aura, this method is similar to one of the 4 great ancient restrictions, the life and death restriction. Wang Lin pondered a bit as he squatted down and his right hand moved. He slowly pulled up some grass from the soil, and his eyes narrowed. The root of the grass had already decayed, and there wasn't much vitality left. In just a few more hours, it would lose all its vitality and the restriction here would be activated completely. The old woman in green didn't have time to do anything too detailed with Master Ashenpine around. She simply left a restriction here that would absorb vitality from the vegetation. Once all the vitality had been absorbed, the restriction would activate, Wang Lin muttered to himself. He then became extremely vigilant toward the old woman in green. Right now this restriction is half complete, so it's not as if I can't break it, unless. Wang Lin smiled and took a few steps back. His hands formed a seal and pointed forward. The black light formed by the annihilation restriction heart suddenly collapsed into specks of black light that landed on this patch of grass. I won't break this restriction. Instead, I'll leave my own imprint and restriction on it before it fully activates. By doing so, I will take over this restriction without the old woman knowing. With my annihilation restriction and the life and death restriction, that's 2 of the 4 great ancient restrictions. Even if Master Ashenpine were to carelessly step inside, he would be seriously injured. Wang Lin carefully moved through the field. He didn't relax until he entered the valley. After looking around, Wang Lin looked at the end of the valley. It was connected to the wall-like mountain range. The mountain was very steep, as if it was a tower. Without pausing, Wang Lin climbed up the mountain like lightning. Thinking about the life and death restriction, Wang Lin could not help but remember what Li Yuan had said back then. When the world was born, laws appeared. After a long time, a strand spread out into restriction. Or formation. They have different names, but they are the same thing. Heaven, earth, mysterious, and yellow have been the 4 ranks of restrictions for a very long time. However, there was still a level above those 4, and we call it abstract. The abstract is split into the 4 great ancient restrictions. Aside from the annihilation restriction of the 4 great ancient restrictions, there are the life and death restriction, the ancient soul restriction, and the mysterious time restriction. Even most of the celestial restrictions were derived from these 4 great ancient restrictions and spread to the present. Wang Lin began to ponder as he climbed the mountain. When I left the All-Heaven Star System, Li Yuan said that if one could learn all 4 great ancient restrictions and fuse them, they would be able to comprehend the abstract realm. Abstract is the peak of restrictions. However, over the countless years since the restriction law split from the birth of the world, no one has been able to comprehend the abstract realm. Wang Lin let out a sigh and no longer thought about this matter. Instead, he focused on sensing Master Ashenpine's route. Half a day passed by. Wang Lin stood at the highest point of the mountain under the 7-colored light. The 7-colored light surrounded him, and from a distance, he looked like a celestial god. This wall-like mountain range was like a ring that separated the inner part from the outside. This place was filled with dense fog, so it was impossible to see what it was like. It was like a black sea that had faintly revealed its danger. Looking ahead, Wang Lin could clearly feel that Master Ashenpine was in the fog. Wang Lin's eyes turned cold as he charged down the mountain and disappeared into the distance. Master Ashenpine was wearing the divine devil armor and was being extremely cautious. He had to be on guard with every step he took while inside the fog. The old woman in green was beside him, and she had black gas surrounding her. The surroundings were completely silent with only their footsteps echoing. That person named Lu should be dead by now. Pang Datsai is good at soul searching, so he must have had a good harvest, especially with that war spirit print. It is one of the great spells of the God sect. Master Ashenpine had calculated the time. They had worked together often, so they could know each other's thoughts at a glance. Pang Datsai should be on his way. Master Ashenpine's eyes shined an indiscernible amount. The old woman in green hadn't spoken at all, but she suddenly asked, Master Ashenpine, how far away is the place you mentioned? Not far, it should be just ahead. Just as he spoke, he suddenly stopped. At the same time, the old woman in green also stopped and cautiously looked ahead. There was a blurry, giant statue hidden in the fog before them. The statue seemed to be moving. As the fog churned, the statue seemed to change. The 2 of them looked at each other and slowly walked forward. It didn't take long for them to arrive below the giant statue and look up. This was a giant boulder more than 1,000 feet tall with a man carved into it. He was looking up at the sky, pondering, and there was a lightning-like mark between his eyebrows. The old woman in green was startled as she stared at the mark between the eyebrows of the statue, and her expression suddenly changed. Just at this moment erratic voice penetrated from the thick fog. It was strange and contained a force that could penetrate the soul. It seemed to came from the distance but also close by. it was impossible to know where it was coming from. Enlightened, prisoner of the Tao of Heaven, all sentient beings must endure immeasurable calamities. It only takes a thought to leave the deep prison. Await the path of cultivation. Enlightened, all life must walk forever forward and solve the modern age. Escape the will of heaven and obtain the path to life. Await the path of cultivation. Enlightened, seal the will of the heavens. Engrave the dark days. All life doesn't know the true Tao. The bitter abyss forever distorts the true Tao. Await the path of cultivation. This eerie passage echoed through the fog and filled the area. Master Ashenpine's face immediately turned pale and he looked around in fear. The old woman in green sucked in a breath of cold air. These strange words remained in her mind and continued to echo. It unexpectedly caused her origin soul to tremble and her Tao heart became unstable. Who are they? What do these words mean? The old woman in green looked at Master Ashenpine. They are the enlightened ones. Just after he finished speaking, the fog before them churned and a shadow flew out. It was too fast, and it directly floated past between the two of them. The strange voice clearly entered their mind. Master Ashenpine, what exactly are the enlightened ones? The old woman's face was pale as the passages echoed in her mind. She was beginning to feel like she couldn't withstand it anymore. The lost ones have lost their Tao and search in confusion as they wander the seven-colored realm. They blindly search. The enlightened ones have Tao, but due to seeing the Tao scripture, their Tao hearts collapsed and couldn't reform. They could only float in this fog and search forever. They may already be dead, and this is merely a Tao soul formed from their will. Master Ashenpine whispered as he listened to those words echo in his mind. Tao scripture. The old woman in green's eyes narrowed. Master Ashenpine raised his head. His eyes were filled with fervor as he slowly said, yes, it is the Tao scripture. I have never heard of this before coming to the seven-colored realm, but after entering here, I found countless clues about it. In this world, there is the Tao scripture that is rumored to be formed by the blood of heaven. What they're talking about is the Tao scripture. The old woman in green sucked in a breath of cold air. What she was hearing now was simply too terrifying. Master Ashenpine's eyes revealed a strange light and he slowly said, it is the Tao scripture. I'm not afraid of fellow cultivator Zhao learning my true purpose. The beast souls are only secondary, my true goal is to see the Tao scripture. There are many enlightened ones here, so getting to the Tao scripture won't be simple. Master Ashenpine, the old woman in green looked at Master Ashenpine. Fellow cultivator Zhao, do you remember the thing that spread among my generation when one didn't have an ascendant pill? Master Ashenpine looked up at the statue. The old woman softly said, those who seek Tao are born in the morning and die at dusk. It is enough. Let's go. Master Ashenpine withdrew his gaze and rushed forward. The old woman in green pondered for a bit and then followed. As the two moved forward, the erratic voices became even louder. This sound was strange and unpredictable, and it would make your mind begin to wander involuntarily. It required a lot of effort to suppress it by force. As they got deeper into the fog, they got a feeling they wouldn't be able to suppress it much longer. Every step they took felt like a large army was bearing down on them and causing their minds to tremble. Master Ashenpine's face was pale, but it was filled with excitement. They slowly walked through the fog as time slowly passed. In the blink of an eye, the two of them had been in the fog for 3 days. They didn't know how far they had walked in the fog. On the 4th day, they vaguely saw a small mountain before them. This small mountain wasn't very large, only 10,000 feet tall. It was appearing and disappearing within the fog. A layer of black light surrounded the small mountain, blocking the path forward. Master Ashenpine looked at the old woman in green and sincerely said, fellow cultivator Zhao, my restriction knowledge can't be compared to yours. Please help me break this restriction. This mountain is where the countless beast souls are sealed. As long as fellow cultivator Zhao opens it, you can obtain the beast souls. The old man in green looked at the black light curtain restriction. She arrived next to it and placed her right hand on it. After a long time, her expression became ugly and she said, this is a time restriction. the longer it exists, the more powerful it becomes. I can't see through how old this restriction is, so there is no need to talk about breaking it. If I had known there was this kind of restriction here, I would have never come. Master Ashenpine smiled and his hand reached out. A storage space opened and something flew out. It was a black awl with a spiral mark on it. The moment he took it out, a pressure began to spread. Does fellow cultivator Zhao know what this is? Master Ashenpine looked at the old woman in green. The old woman in green stared at the awl with a strange light in her eyes. After looking carefully for a long time, she slowly said, "The strange treasure from ancient times, restriction-breaking awl. Fellow cultivator Zhao is indeed worthy of being a restriction grandmaster, so knowledgeable. I wonder how confident fellow cultivator Zhao is in breaking this restriction with this." The old woman in green pondered a bit and said, "How many restriction-breaking awls do you have?" Master Ashenpine said, 4. If it was a time restriction that had only existed for a short period of time, 4 would be enough. However, this restriction has existed for far too long, so I'm only 10% confident. The old woman in green shook her head. Master Ashenpine pondered a bit before waving his right hand and taking something else out. It was a piece of black wood that was the size of a palm. The moment it appeared, an indescribably powerful aura appeared. This aura even moved the fog and formed a vortex 100 feet wide, slowly rotating. The eyes of the old woman in green narrowed. She stared at the piece of black wood and gasped before slowly asked, "Pseudo-Nirvana void treasure?" Master Ashenpine didn't explain and slowly said, "How confident are you with this?" The old woman withdrew her gaze and calculated for a bit before she said, 40%. If there was the war spirit print, it would be 50%, but unfortunately. Master Ashenpine hesitated for a bit and took out one more item from his storage space. It was a bright crystal that seemed to have fresh blood flowing inside. The moment it appeared, a heaven-shattering destructive aura spread out. It should be enough with this. Master Ashenpine looked at the old woman in green. The old woman in green silently pondered for a bit and then said in a hoarse voice, "Master Ashenpine is going big to take out 2 pseudo-Nirvana void treasures. This crystal is obviously a lot more powerful than the last. With these 3 items, I'm 70% confident." 70% is enough. Master Ashenpine waved his sleeves and the 4 restriction-breaking awls flew toward the old woman in green. Master Ashenpine was well prepared. If it wasn't for the fact that his restriction ability was truly inferior to this old woman's, he would have already broken it himself. "When you need me to use the treasures, just tell me." The old woman in green no longer wasted any time. Both her hands formed seals and restrictions flew out. At the same time, the black gas around her moved with the restrictions. With a point of her finger, they shot toward one of the restriction-breaking awls. Popping sounds echoed as the restrictions landed on the restriction-breaking awl, then the black gas rushed into it. The awl gave off a black glow, then an aura that could split the heavens spread out. The eyes of the old woman shined as she bit the tip of her tongue and an arrow of blood shot out at the awl. It landed on the awl, causing it to fly directly at the time restriction. As it closed in, the black light restriction began to distort as the power of time came crashing down. The awl immediately trembled and showed signs of disappearing. The old woman in green shouted, "Break!" The awl gave off a blood-red light and a large amount of black gas rushed into the awl. It directly drilled into a corner of the black light restriction and sank inside before it rapidly dissipated. At the same time, more black gas came out from the old woman in green and entered the second restriction-breaking awl. It shot out like lightning and was nailed into another corner. The remaining restriction-breaking awls also flew out and were nailed into the black light restriction. When all 4 restriction-breaking awls landed, there was a roar from the black light restriction. Originally, countless ripples would have appeared, but with the 4 awls nailed in, it was as if 4 giant rocks were thrown into a pond. Each set of ripples went in a different direction and disturbed the balance on the surface. Just at this moment, the old woman in green formed a seal and pointed to between her eyebrows. She immediately spat out a mouthful of black gas. Her wrinkles rapidly dissipated and she returned back into a 40-year-old, beautiful, middle-aged woman. Large amounts of black gas charged at the black light screen and landed at the center. It formed a black vortex at the center and started to collide with the black light restriction. An earth-shattering rumble echoed. The beautiful woman's eyes lit up and she quickly said, "Black wood." Master Ashenpine didn't hesitate and threw the piece of black wood. When it got close to the vortex, he pointed at it. The wood immediately trembled and a heaven-shaking destructive aura spread out and the wood suddenly collapsed. The rumble shook the world and pushed the fog out in all directions. The unimaginable impact seemed to be about to dissipate when the beautiful woman jumped forward. She appeared above the impact and sent out countless restrictions. She was able to control the destructive impact to charge at the black light restriction. The rumbling even caused the earth to tremble, and the fluctuations on the black light restriction became even more intense. More ripples appeared, but it wasn't damaged at all, and instead a rebound force appeared. The first all that was nailed in collapsed. The beautiful woman's expression changed. Without any order, Master Ashenpine threw the crystal. When it got near the restriction, it exploded. This crystal contained unimaginable power, and it immediately turned into a huge storm. The beautiful woman clenched her teeth and her hands formed another seal before pointing to between her eyebrows. More black gas scattered from her body and her appearance changed once more. She unexpectedly became a beautiful young woman around 20 years old. The black gas around her turned into countless restrictions under her control and fused with the destructive force caused by the collapse of the crystal. She directed this destructive force toward the black light restriction. A loud rumble echoed once more along with cracking sounds. A crack appeared on the black light restriction. However, the crack quickly closed and it looked like it was about to be restored back to normal. Master Ashenpine clenched his teeth and his heart ached as he took something else out from his storage space. It was just a jade token, but it also gave off the aura of a pseudo-nirvana void treasure. Master Ashenpine was extremely unwilling to take it out. The two treasures from before weren't really pseudo-nirvana void, they merely contained some aura of pseudo-nirvana void treasures. Although they were powerful, it would be fine if they were destroyed. Although his heart would ache a bit, he could accept it. However, this item was a true pseudo-nirvana void treasure. If this was destroyed, he would feel like his heart had been crushed. This scene made the beautiful woman's eyes narrow and she sucked in a breath of cold air. She wasn't able to guess just how many pseudo-nirvana void treasures Master Ashenpine had. These treasures were extremely rare, but in order to break this restriction, Master Ashenpine was willing to destroy 3. If they were taken outside, their value would be unimaginable. Just exchanging them for beast souls would allow one to have everything they wanted. Shatter. Master Ashenpine clenched his teeth before letting out a roar. He was giving it his all. The jade charged into the crack in the light and suddenly collapsed. An impact far stronger than the last two suddenly appeared. It formed a storm that affected all the fog within tens of thousands of kilometers. Crackling sounds echoed, but the black light screen still didn't shatter. However, the crack was now 100 feet wide. Although it was recovering, the rate had slowed down. Master Ashenpine charged forward and rushed into the crack, ignoring the woman. The young woman's eyes lit up and she also charged into the crack. Shortly after, a ray of light broke through the fog and turned into Wang Lin. He looked at the crack but didn't immediately go in. After placing down large amount of restrictions outside, he rushed into the crack. This video will end here.